Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast. Before we get started, we wanted to bring a special message from the Channel 3 Season 10 presenting sponsor WayForward Games. They are the publisher of the upcoming Clock Tower Rewind. Run, hide, avoid the deadly Scissor Man in this survival horror classic when the 16-bit nightmare returns this fall, October 29th. The game releases across platforms. The exciting part about this game, it was not even available in the United States during its original release, so make sure you go ahead, wishlist it. We've got a quest on Channel 3. Head to c3.gg/wayforward for all of WayForward's information. Look for Clock Tower Rewind and make sure you complete that quest and get that XP. Pick the game up this fall.
Channel 3 is the future.
Welcome, crew, to What Are Your Three, a Channel 3 podcast where we take a member of the Channel 3 community, discuss 3 games of their choosing, go through some honorable mentions and some other odds and ends for a nice little video game discussion. I'm Dan. With me, Ray.
What's going on, everybody? Tonight's guest has taken us three tries, I guess, 3 official tries, many other in between.
I planned it that way.
Between people, we've had falling asleep episodes. As, we do record this late at night. We've had Dan's lost his voice. I was dying one week, and just every possible way to not have this guest on. But we finally made it, and we are here tonight with chrisiusx. Chris, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to get excited for this now. I was a little nervous before, but I'm doing good.
I'm excited for this list. It's a little different. Yeah. Before we get into the list, though, I can't believe that it's not written anywhere here. I have to ask you about your work as a creator on the Fortnite custom maps. We're not gonna be able to get away without talking about this. I have to ask, how'd you get into? I'm just gonna jump right in. How'd you get into? Decided, hey, I'm gonna start making custom maps on Fortnite and kind of putting them out there and promoting them all over the place. How did that all start?
It's something I've always wanted to do. I would say it probably goes as far back as Toy Story, the original Toy Story, where I watched the 3D animations and that kind of stuff. And I was thinking, man, it'd be really cool if I could do stuff like that, right? And I've always wanted to make video games, and I always think back to like Lara Croft and playing Tomb Raider and those types of 3D games. And it's just something that I've always wanted to do and never really had the tools to do it. Unreal Engine was always like really expensive. And then UEFN came out, I think it was about a year and a half ago. And I don't know, I need to do something else. I need some kind of side hustle and something that I enjoy doing. You know what I mean? It's something that I want to pursue, maybe even further down the road outside of UEFN. But UEFN gives you that nice platform. It's easy to use. If you have I've got somewhat of a background in computer science, so I have, some programming experience, and UEFN ties into that nicely. But really, it's just something I've always wanted to do, and the tools are free to use now, which is crazy to me. And even Unreal Engine is completely free now, and you basically, once you make a certain amount of money, that's when they say, all right, now you can give us a little cut. You know what I mean?
Are there any, because you're saying they just kind of opened it up and left it for you to use. Have you found any sort of limitations as you were putting maps together on what you could do or what you couldn't do?
There's definitely limitations in UEFN. They don't have the complete API open to Unreal Engine, but they've got a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of stuff tied in. But yeah, there's definitely some things that I've tried to do in Unreal Engine and migrate them into UEFN to see if I can get them to work there, and they don't support some function or some API feature that they just haven't tied into yet. But it makes it interesting because then you got to figure out other ways to do it with the tools that you have. Which can be frustrating.
How long does it take you to put a map together? I want to say I've played on 2 of yours. The one with the raptors. I forget what you call the
Berserker.
That one. I've played that one a few times, just shooting at them and trying to figure out where to hitbox.
Yeah, that one's fun. I actually just updated that one. I wanted to put it in for Epic's picks because they do like a Halloween call out type thing. So I took Berserker and I ran some updates and kind of put some Halloween decorations around. Hit some like little Easter egg things, like you can play Doorbell Ditch and maybe you get an exotic gun, maybe you get a junk rift, maybe you get nothing. Some fun stuff like that. And then I replaced all the Berserkers with skeletons.
There you go.
Which will be fun. But
how long does it take to put one of these maps together?
So it depends. Like in the beginning, it took me a long time because I hadn't done anything. I was learning everything from scratch, how to use all the devices and what they were, what all the different functions were, and then so like the first one, it probably took me close to a month of like doing stuff after work, doing stuff on the weekends, to get it from like to like a functioning game. And that was the dirt bike game. That was the first one that I made, and I did like all the landscape. I like hand placed all the trees and like all the buildings, and it was like from nuts to bolts, like, and learning how to do all that stuff in the process. So that one took me a little longer. But there's like the one, I don't know if you saw the, what was it? The Fall Guys bean basketball thing. So it's basically a giant bouncy house. That I put together in like 8 hours because I was hyper focused, and I was like, you know what? This is really easy. Just a lot of copy, duplicate, moving things around, and that one, less than a day, I put that thing together. But that was just a silly little game. There was no UI. There was no. It was basically an AFK map, is what it was.
Yeah, I know
with the game mode wrapped around. Yeah. You play basketball.
I know I left it bouncing for a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, it depends on the complexity of the game. Like this, I'd love to make a game. I don't know if you've played the Havoc Hotel. I know my kids play it all the time. It's in Fortnite, and I'd love to make a game like that. Mm-hmm. But that would probably take a lot longer.
I would say some of them are really detailed.
The detailed, extensive UIs, and there's a lot of moving. Like even that lumberjack. I'm sure you heard of the Lumberjack Heroes thing,
right? Yes.
that one probably took months to put together, mm-hmm. Several months, with a team of people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say with multiple people doing it.
At least a couple,
Not one
one
part-time weekend warrior.
Yeah, right.
All out.
Exactly. But I don't know. Each map that I do, I try and learn something different, something new, and then I don't know. Hopefully, something will take off one of these days. Something will just.
Listen, I keep hitting like and recommend and put in the hearts.
And I appreciate that. I really do. I really do.
Because I want to see it.
I want to see it happen too. I'm with you.
All right, watch this tie-in right here, Dan. So now we're going to jump to the list. Game number 1, another programming spectacular, development when they figure out how we're going to put this game in Atari. It's Pitfall. For anybody that doesn't know, this game was like a coding masterpiece, the way they kind of all put it together. Let me tell you that we have the quest going on, and I was trying forever to tie it to Chris's podcast, that we kept delaying and delaying. But so while you guys are hearing this, the Pitfall quest has over. But it's at 3.8 stars. I think that's too low. I think there's a level of respect that this game is not getting.
The youth, they're out of line.
They really.
You can give it 4. Like I think I think it should be a solid 4.
I would agree.
If some people want to throw a 5 in there, go for it. But so you tell us why is Pitfall the first game that shows up on your list here?
Yeah, because it goes back to Atari. It goes back to when I was a little kid, and my brother had an Atari, and I was like, "What is this thing?" Like, and he had been playing for a few years before I jumped into it. He had Pong, and he had the classics, but Pitfall. I don't know. I just remember Pitfall. I remember having so much fun with it. Those friggin' alligators! I swear to God, and that sound effect that would play every time you die. I think it lives rent free in my head. But I don't know. It was just the first memory I had of playing video games as a kid, where I was like, "Man, this is cool. This is fun." Who invented this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about it. I don't know. I always wonder. I have to talk to my parents about this because I've played all these Atari classic games. Whenever they're brought up, I'm like, yeah, I played that one. But I didn't have an Atari. I played them on probably Windows 95. Eventually had some copy of Atari. So I played all these, and for me, the one thing I always remember is basically the Tarzan swinging sound effect.
Yes.
Every time, that's when you talk about Pitfall, that's the first thing that pops into my head. Is that swinging and the sound effects for it. So you ever make it the entire 20 minutes? I learned that the game is 20 minutes long.
I don't think I've ever completed the game, to be honest.
I'm impressed with the people that getting pretty close here. As I look at the scores right now, once I saw the scores, I was like, yeah, I'm not beating the scores here.
I'm not. Yeah, it's just.
I got O2 at 70,000 and Joel at 59,000. 45 seconds left. We played 19 minutes. It's impressive because I don't know if I make it past 5 before screwing up hitting the space bar correctly 3 times in a row.
Right.
So this game connects to Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was kind of the
and I loved indie growing up too. So that was probably part of the reason I liked that game so much.
Mm-hmm. What's the toughest obstacle besides pushing the space bar and the game not responding to you?
I think it just comes down to timing. A lot of those classic 8-bit games, is it 8-bit? Is Atari even 8-bit? I don't know. Maybe 4.
I don't even think it is. Yeah. My researcher Dan is checking real quickly here.
8-bit, that was like NES, right?
8-bit's NES. I'll say Atari is not.
Atari's got to be like 2.
That sounds like science. That's science fiction to Atari.
2 bits with color.
2 bits, one screen, coded to just populate itself over and over again.
But yeah, I mean, they were so basic back then. It really comes down to timing. Timing your jumps, timing those, the swings. And
what you got for us, Dan? How many bits was? So the emulator that I have is Atari 2600. That's what I told everybody to play on.
I don't think they even bothered measuring it.
We'll see what it think.
Well, it's like the generation now, they're just making words up for.
Well, you know what? Atari was an 8-bit. Atari was actually 8-bit. I don't think it really gets it.
Atari. Google says the Atari 2600 was an 8-bit console.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
So there you go.
Yeah, what they could
do it really
changed. The problem is, remember that's where the memory and the RAM and everything all comes into play.
Yeah.
Maximum capacity of 4 kilobytes. That's the biggest a ROM could have.
That's crazy.
You can't make a phone call for that now.
Yes.
Back in the days when you bought a game and it just worked. There were no patches, no updates,
Hopefully.
no. That's true. As long as you don't spit in it when you're trying to blow out the cartridge.
That's right. Because blowing works. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Just because somebody can't blow.
Censor this.
Listen, just because somebody can't blow responsibly, don't start putting out lies and propaganda.
Can you move on from this, please? This is either it's going to be the greatest GIF ever, or we're going to get banned by somebody.
This is the most exciting conversation anyone's had about Pitfall. I'll tell you that right now.
I don't see now. You're getting that less than 4 stars tone in your voice.
Listen, just because the game's great, you can only talk so much. It's only 4 kilobytes.
Hey, David Crane was excited. We recognized that was one of like the first like anniversary posts we ever made. Was making
for Pitfall.
David Crane appreciate.
Oh, that's right, because he was right. Pitfall Harry. He's got a name.
Harry. That's right. That was his name.
I didn't know that until this week. I looked up a lot of information about Pitfall.
I looked up a lot of stuff.
So you had to be there in the '90s when Pitfall came back. That was you knew Pitfall Harry then.
When Pitfall came back, he had a comeback.
Yeah, the Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure, I think it was called. They had like an updated version.
No way. On the Atari, or is it?
No, it was. Oh my god! Why do I have to do so much research on the fly today?
Let's say this. See, now your son.
1994.
You brought it up.
Sega Genesis. There it is.
Ooh.
Oh, the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure.
See, this sounds like that mobile game that was amazing, and then when we played it again, it wasn't good. Where you're escaping with the treasure, and the monkeys are chasing you. Oh god, it's a mobile game. It was the best mobile game when mobile games weren't a thing, and now it's riddled with ads, and it's so terrible.
Oh god, I hate that.
There's two of them. They made a sequel of it. It's like the predecessor of Subway Run or whatever, Subway Surfer and stuff like that.
Oh,
Like before all those games came out, there was this. We did it as a quest too, Dan. Don't look at me like that.
No, I'm going down a wiki hole right now because you're driving, and I'm like seeing David Crane was 28 when Pitfall was released, and yeah, it's just one of those things. It's tough to look.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from Pitfall, the Atari. We're gonna go
Pitfall, Harry.
all the way forward to 1980 something. I don't have the exact date. I can't pull that exact date.
Do you want to know what's stupid about this?
I didn't play till 90s.
Do you
so
want to know what's stupid about this? There's 7 years between Pitfall and this game.
That's it?
Yeah,
That's not a lot of time.
Pitfall
makes
was
sense.
82 and 89
This
was
makes
the
sense.
next
This
game.
makes sense. 8-bit. This makes sense as 8-bit. Then they're close enough.
They just had more memory to work with. That's all.
Yeah. Super Mario Brothers 3. Here we go. Classic. Super Mario Bros. 3. 4.8 stars. Are you playing it on the Nintendo Entertainment System or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System?
I think I played it on the NES. I want to say it was the NES. I don't remember now.
Do you feel the dents in your hands from the
I had
square
both.
controller? That's the question when you think of this game.
Oh god, yeah, the square off controller. That was brutal.
And I need to know exactly where you're from in the greater northeast part of the country now.
I'm in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was clear.
Was it? I was trying to figure out how close to Worcester you were with that. That's.
Oh, definitely not far from Worcester.
There it is.
I tell people my grandmother's from Worcester, so I can speak.
Worcester.
The language.
Yeah, I'm probably a half hour from Worcester, half hour from Boston. I'm kind of right in the middle of everything, like right in the middle of Mass.
So Super Mario Bros. 3 is the best Mario game for you? Is this
That was that one's because Mario 3. This I must have played this on the NES because this would have been my first like real console. You know, like my brother had the Atari, and then we didn't really have any other consoles. There weren't really any other consoles. I mean, there was what the hell else was there was a Commodore, whatever the hell it was back then, but there wasn't much, right? And then Christmas time came along. This Nintendo.
This is in television erasure, and I won't allow it. Sorry, I had to do something here. I couldn't let that go.
Yeah, we got the Nintendo for Christmas one year. We got Mario Brothers. You know, it came with Mario Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But Super Mario 3, that was the first like platformer, I guess, that I probably played that a million times. I think it was the raccoon too. There was a flying raccoon. I think that's what did it for me.
Yeah, Tanuki.
I'm like, oh my god, he can fly! This is great.
So playing it over and over again, did that involve beating it over and over again as a kid, or like would you get to a certain point and was it just over and over again?
I beat it a handful of times, but a lot of times it would just be like replaying the same levels or just having fun with it. Because some of those levels at the end are just crazy.
Yeah, there's no forgiveness in
no, there really
in
isn't.
retro video games.
And it sucks the fun right out of it.
They're like, hey, this is the game. Well, they talk about hard games now, and like, oh, why are they going to be hard all the time? Like, is FromSoft going to make another game? Can you give us an easy mode? That it's like they didn't have any of that with the retro game. They said, here's the game.
This is the game. Either you can beat it,
No,
or you
listen.
can't.
Yeah, you can suck it up and beat it, or don't. Like,
By 3 though,
here's the game.
you had the power wing. You could fly over an entire level. You had the full Tanuki suit that you could turn into a statue and be invincible. We can't
Was
overlook
Yoshi
that.
in this one, or was he in
gave
Super
you
Mario
stuff.
World?
They gave you things. Sure. I had no idea about the statue thing. Let me tell you anything.
It's not with not with the Tanuki
That's with
raccoon
the frog.
tail, but the
That's
full
the frog.
suit. You can
Oh,
down
okay.
B and turn
Yeah,
into
I
a
had-
statue briefly
I had
for a few
no idea.
seconds.
I don't think I knew that.
I didn't
As
know
many
that.
times as I've played this. Wow,
But you only get like 1 or maybe 2 of those suits if you're lucky.
Yeah.
that's crazy. Now I gotta play it again.
How'd you feel the first time? I will tell you, one of the things I remember like blew my mind away was when I hid behind the platform. The first time I held down on one of the white hills and I fell under and behind the map. And then you find your first flute.
Oh yeah. That's right.
And decades later, we all talk about how that game is, how it's a fake game and it's just telling a story because he's on stage, and you go behind a curtain to find stuff here. It's all a fever dream.
The man behind the curtain.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. So what's the best power in the game? Is it all about the Tanuki tail? Did you find it easy to run up and fly? Oh yeah, I guess that was the first way to fly.
Yeah, I mean, it's once you get the hang of it, it was a pretty cool mechanic.
And
It's
I'll
fun.
ask, last thing for me, because I always talk about I've played these and then I realized that all my memories are Super Nintendo memories. Even I played all these games remastered.
Yeah,
When they put them out there, and I just remember playing it, thinking I feel like the controls are really slippery on the Mario games on the Nintendo, and I feel like they changed it up on the Super Nintendo. Did you ever have that feeling, or was it like easy to control?
yeah.
for you?
I would say they definitely improved on the controls in the Super Nintendo for sure. The original Nintendo with the square controller and the 2 buttons on, yeah, that was, you got what you got. They definitely improved things on the Super Nintendo. I would agree with that for sure.
All right, on to game number 3, which you just wrote Street Fighter. And I need to know if this is going to be the first time we're actually going to talk about the Nintendo original, or are you trying to smuggle in an entire series?
It's the NES version, the original
Ooh.
Fighter NES with, is it Guile and I can't even remember all their names.
Ryu's in there, Guile. It's a very
Ryu,
limited
Guile.
roster. It's
Yeah, it was like 8 people.
significantly
I didn't even know there was a Street Fighter. I just assumed we just started with Street Fighter 2 and that was it.
And we had 87 of them, and we liked every one of them. Yes. No, but there was a Street Fighter with the Capcom 80s, like, purple border and Street Fighter. And like you said, it was like Guile, Ryu. Like, it was a very limited roster. But it's a Nintendo 8-bit version of what came to be Street Fighter 2. Okay, so let's do this. So was this the Nintendo that the family got that you got?
So
this
this one. My friend actually had this game. He lived down the street from me, and he was my best friend growing up. And we would play Street Fighter and Mario and all the other, all the Nintendo games really. But Street Fighter in particular, because you could go head to head, and we would just beat the crap out of each other. It was fun, and we would play until the wee hours of the night, and it was just one of those things. It just brings me back to, a simpler time when you were just playing games with your friends and nothing else really mattered. You know what I mean?
It's a funny thing. I've never actually played this. I watched videos only in the last few years because I've just been curious of like, what was this like? And it's just funny seeing like a de-resed version of Street Fighter 2.
And a lot of the fun too back then was you just trying to figure out all the different moves, like all the different button combinations, and up, down, left, front, A, B, whatever, whatever the combo was.
So was there had to be like some? Did you have the manual that you were able to pull some guys from? Or did you guys not have even bother with that?
I don't even think they were in the manual. I think you just had to figure it out. You just had to figure it out. It was kind of like going to the arcade and playing Mortal Kombat, which I think is another one that we're going to talk about. But there was no. When you went to the arcade, there was no instructions. You just, all right, fight. And you're like, all right, start bashing buttons and trying different things, and maybe you figure something out. You're like, all right, how did I do that? And then you just kind of get a feel for the controls, and you learn it. But yes, there were no moves in the manual or anything like that, so you just kind of had to figure it out.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is too, like once you do it, you don't even know what you did to try to repeat it again either.
And then your buddy, my buddy, he would be Ryo, and he would sit there and he would throw that white fireball thing, whatever it was. It just repeated it. How are you doing that?
Yeah, that one figured out.
Yeah, I'm not telling you. And then there was it Chun-Li? I think Chun-Li was one of the characters. She had this like super kick. I don't even remember what the thing was, but her leg would go up and down. It was just like 100 kicks in like 3 seconds, and there was nothing you could do to stop it. But yeah, I mean that was the fun of it too. Is just trying to learn all the different moves, and you think you figured them all out, but you're like, oh, I just discovered something new.
Did you say this was his game, your game, or you both?
This was his game. So we'd always go play at his house, and
well, I got news for you. I think he had the manual, and that's how he knew how to continue.
He may have. He may have. It may have had some stuff in the manual.
I don't know, man. I don't think there's a manual.
There it came in. It's funny. I'm watching it right now, and the characters, they don't walk once the fight starts. As they move forward and backwards, they hop.
Really?
There's no walking animation. I'm watching right now.
Just little short hops.
They literally do little short hops to go forward and backwards here. Also, there's a message at the beginning of the game, which is odd. I guess it's real. I'm watching a gameplay one. It says you're playing this game outside of the United States or Canada. You're involved in a crime. I don't know if this is a joke or not, or they really had this.
They probably had it for licensing purposes. Yeah,
that's what it says here. Stop, use, and export this game outside of the U.S. and Canada. It's in violation of copyright laws.
Oh wow!
What an odd warning to throw at the start of a game. I've never seen something like this before.
Listen, we grew up in an era of having the FBI warning, making them think they were going to come crashing through our door if there was somebody who wasn't in our family we show the video to. So,
you know what I blame for that? I blame war games for that.
Ray doesn't even know what that is. There's Ali Sheedy, Matthew Broderick erasure.
Just don't rip the tags off your mattress, and you'll be safe.
Just don't rip the tags. Whatever you do.
As it says, you can't take the tags off your mattress.
Is that what this is devolved to?
I would say this message at the start of the game is on level with that. If you're playing this game somewhere on your Nintendo right now that's not connected to any internet, because there is no internet, we'll find you. We will catch you.
I'm watching a clip right now. You're right. They just have little hops. They don't even like.
Turn yourself in. Did you turn yourself in from watching it?
No, I'm in America. It's okay. I can watch this.
Did you ever end up? So who did you play as usually? He played as Ryu because he knew all the moves apparently to get you.
Yeah, well, I would always try and play as Ryu to figure out what the hell he was doing.
And to be clear, until Super Smash Brothers, I always called him Ryu, just so we're clear. But
right, yeah, I think I always call him Ryu too. Now that you say it,
Ray's gonna high road us and act like you knew it the whole time.
But Ryu, didn't Ryu have a counterpart? Didn't he? There was the guy in the yellow.
Oh yeah,
suit?
Ken.
Yeah. So sometimes it would be Ken or Chun-Li, just because she had that super kick, and it was hard to defend the super kick. Sometimes Guile was another one I would go to. I remember he had some pretty cool moves.
It's weird. I felt like in the Street Fighter 2 era, Guile was the top of the list. I don't know if Jean-Claude Van Damme buried him or if just like time left Guile behind. Like I know Ryu and Ken and like facing off were always like the kind of the mascots in there, but I don't know where's Guile at this day and age.
I don't know, the low man on the totem pole, I guess.
So did you guys get into Street Fighter 2 at all, or did you guys just have this? This was where you were. This was 87 when it came out. I don't know how early you were playing this, but it was a while before Street Fighter 2.
I've been like 9 or 10 years old, 87. So, I'm pretty sure we migrated to Street Fighter 2 after that on the Super Nintendo.
Right. Street Fighter 2 is another example of people act like games were $30 back then. That was another one that was like $70 in 92 or whatever it was. That was a game that had a premium on it.
I have no reference. For video game prices. I just
I don't remember what they cost back then because I wasn't buying them.
You had people for that then.
I had people for that then.
Well, let's go to the other side of the coin that you previously referenced. So your honorable mentions start off with the other side of that coin in Mortal Kombat, a game where, we had Street Fighter, we had the cartoonish, intense speed of Street Fighter 2 and its 87 iterations, and then in 1993, every arcade came to a stop when the photo captured Mortal Kombat arrived.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat. I mean, that was I would have been in high school at the time, so that would have been the time that I would have probably been going to the arcades by myself or going to the arcades with my buddies. And the first game you saw when you walked in the arcade was Mortal Kombat, and everybody was around. Everybody was around that box.
Did you see it? Because there was always a line and
there was always people around Mortal Kombat. It was crazy. You could see this, and you'd walk up and you'd just see him doing these crazy moves, and then finish him. I mean, the finishers were just insane. They blew your mind away. You're a high school kid. You're watching this, and you're like, "Oh my god, that's crazy." And there was no instructions on how to do them. You don't
know what the moves are for a regular fighter, and now you want me to do a fatality at the same time?
Yeah,
how do you ever learn this stuff?
Right, exactly. It's crazy. And you talk to people at the arcades, and you're like, yeah, it's up, down, left, right, and then high kick, low kick, or whatever whatever the friggin' controls are. And
I can't wait till people.
But you get one shot at it.
To figure out if I put in Scorpion's original fatality, because I think I remember it in my head. It's like back, forward. I have to remember it's something like that. But we may have like a new tagline. A new auto tagline by the time all is said and done. I don't know. We'll have to see if I can figure that one out, if I can remember that one.
But yeah, I mean that one got the first mention because that was the game when I started going into arcades with my friends and playing and stuff.
What was it like when you saw? Again, you're talking about this as a different, like this has like a video capture look. This has a like people on screen movie feel to it by comparison to other games.
And that was the thing too. The graphics were at the time. The graphics were insane. It was like, holy crap! What am I? This is a video game. Like,
and then you get Goro. Like, what do you do when you see Goro for the first time?
Yeah, especially at that level. You know what I mean? Like I watched horror movies in high school. That stuff never really bothered me. But then to see it in a video game, you're like, "Whoa, somebody's pushing the envelope here," and they were okay with it.
Jacked four-arm monster doing in here?
You literally ripped this guy's head off, And
he was just built to suck your quarters up too.
Yeah,
you're not beating him in one try.
There's nothing.
No.
So did you pick up a home version of this one, or did you just play this one in the arcade?
I think I did eventually because I got tired of spending quarters trying to like because I wanted to learn all the fatalities, right? You want to learn all the moves, and like the fatalities, you only get one shot at it, and that's only if you win, right?
And it's not easy with the joystick either, because like I said, you got to like Scorpions. I think it was like back, forward, And if you misfire on the joystick and go a little
Going
bit
up or
down, you're
down.
done. It's over. Forget
Yeah,
it.
right. That's it. Game over. Right. So it sucks when you're at the arcade trying to learn these things, and you finally get a win. You're like finish him. You're like shit. What was the move? And then you. But yeah, I definitely bought this one. It was probably for Super Nintendo, I would imagine.
Oh, so you were denied the blood code. That was my
the
next
edited
question.
down version. There you go.
The what?
You had the gray splatter then. You didn't have a blood code on Super Nintendo.
I'm trying to think.
Genesis, you had the A,
I didn't
C,
have Genesis.
A, B, whatever it is. Again, things that you may want to punch into a comment sometime on a main post. I'm trying to remember. I should have kept a list of like Easter eggs that have been buried in the site. At this point,
They're just built in at this point.
they're hidden from us at this point. We hid them, but we don't know, and we continue to hide them, and I don't know where they are.
Yeah, it was definitely Super Nintendo. I never really had a Genesis. I had one friend in high school. He was a Sega guy. He had the Genesis, and there was something that came after the Genesis, Sega CD. I think was that what it was called?
Oh well, you could Frankenstein a Sega Genesis and get the 32X and the Sega CD, and attach it and create one monstrosity. Yes,
that's what it was.
Like people talk about the Game Boy, but like if you got the Sega Genesis, the Sega CD, the Sega 32X, you slap a Sonic and Knuckles cartridge on top of that, a Game Genie before that, and then you slap a Sonic game into the Sonic and Knuckles. You got yourself a monster going there, baby. It's
there's so many attachments.
Okay, so you didn't have to worry though. You were just looking at sweat drops on the Super Nintendo screen, so you didn't have to worry about any kind of
no real blood, I guess.
No political uprisings or upheaval or parents that are worked up there.
Right, but you got to practice fatalities, which was fun, and then you could go to the arcade and show off to all your buddies. You know what I mean?
Did you have the Mortal Kombat, or did your buddy have it who never managed to show you the manual?
Eventually I got my own Super Nintendo, and then I think I bought this one.
How did you get the fatalities? Because again, I'm trying to remember how we did it. Like somebody probably had a guide. Like there's probably one kid who had a guide.
Yeah, well, the internet was, I think, around at that time, so there probably would have been stuff online.
Well, it was the Matthew Broderick War Games version of it. You could just type it in and say, "Hello, Joshua." But aside from that, I don't know if there was much more. Ray, that was a reference to the movie War Games from the '80s, but he got that. You're not gonna. Don't worry.
Listen. I'm happy for you.
I'm just vibing here.
But yeah, we don't know how. I don't know how it happened. It's just one of those things that spread around. I mean, I'm a few years behind you, but that was 13 for me, and I remember like word just spreading of like, here's how you do it. Like you go back, okay, this is it. Like here's the blood code, and like somebody would write it down and share it. I don't know how this stuff started.
I don't know how it got. But I think it's one of those things it got out there, and then it just spread like wildfire because kids talk to other kids, and they tell your friends are talking to their friends, and then all of a sudden everybody's got the codes. And different time back then. Now it's just easy. You just Google it.
A mystery untold, a journey through ancient caverns, inner turmoils that become outward strengths. These kinds of stories need a solemn yet comforting pack of music to bring the players closer to your characters as they set forth on a mysterious journey. My name is Adam Evault, otherwise known as Castu Garden, and I just put out my first music asset pack over on itch.io called Neoclassical Mystery. It is available for download for your next indie game dev project. I hope these tracks find you well, and it is time to unfold your mystery.
So we go from one wild game to another one. I'm gonna let you talk about this one here because every time I watch it, I'm more just stunned by it. Under a Killing Moon, 1994, a point and click. You are a detective. You're trying to solve the mystery here. Tex Murphy,
solving mysteries. I think there were aliens at some point. It was a wild game. for 1994, this was probably right around the time where we got our first like family computer. Like a real computer, like a PC, not a Macintosh SE with a black and white 7-inch screen. You know what I mean? It was a real PC with a real graphics card, and I was like, all right, let's see what kind of 3D games we can. And this was probably the first one I got. And it's a really fun. If you've never played it, I think it would be worth playing again. My memory's a little fuzzy, but I remember it being a lot of fun. It's just very. There's a lot of like point and click puzzles, very similar to in gameplay to what were those King's Quest games? Do you remember those King's Quests games? So lots of like little puzzles and Myst. Myst was another one, a puzzle based. You'd have to solve these different mysteries but I don't know, it was just a fun game. You kind of role play as the detective. The graphics were really cool. It almost looked like they had some sort of live capture, similar to Mortal Kombat. The characters didn't really look like characters; they looked like low graphic, real people. You know what I mean?
They did. It looks like they did a bunch of green screen stuff.
Yeah,
people's faces in it.
Yeah, and it was really, really, really cool at the time. Kind of cutting edge.
I mean, looking at it, it still looks good.
I think it would.
Comparatively, I feel like it holds up the way it looks visually.
I think it doesn't look bad. I mean, this is probably like the early days of Unreal Engine. This is probably made in like Unreal Engine 1 or 2. You know what I mean? Like the first iteration.
You put this as my childhood in a game.
I probably spent a lot of time at the computer playing this.
And for anybody that does want to play, it is on Steam. That was written down. It is on Steam. You can get it.
The direct version he played in '94, not like, oh, they made an update.
Yeah.
No, like they just took it and they put it on there.
So $10 if you want to play.
I might have to spend the 10 and play it all over again.
You can connect to it directly through Channel 3. We've got it. It's on the Steam page. Is hooked directly there.
Nice.
All right. Well, I've been dying for however long we've been trying to get this podcast scheduled.
Dan's been very excited about this.
To introduce honorable mention number 3. I see something like Street Fighter, and I'm like, wait, does he mean we're going back to the original Nintendo? Let's do this and talk about that, or are we trying to smuggle a whole series, or Mortal Kombat? Are we talking one game or the whole series? But this is the best description I've ever seen for a game. Honorable 3. Quote, some game I played on the family's first Mac SE. It was black and white and dungeon themed. Wish I could remember what it was. End quote. Thank you for the greatest description ever. So, first of all, I just need... So, tell us about this.
It was, it was probably one of the only games you could really get for the Mac SE. It was one of those things where, like, you'd go to the store, we had a computer, and I'm like, can't you get any video games for this thing? It was a Mac. There wasn't a lot of options available at the time. So we found this at, we probably went to Kmart or something. I mean, I don't know, who knows where we went, but
yeah, it was probably it was Kmart, Kmart or a computer store.
It was probably,
where you were.
Yeah, I don't know, but and it was really there weren't a lot of options, right? So it was like, all right, well, this looks fun. I like castles, I like dungeons, and this could be fun. So we got it, and it was a lot of fun. It was probably 8-bit. Had good sound. I remember the sound effects being pretty cool. It had good audio, good music. I don't know. It was like a little like platformer type.
All right, so you answered my first question because I want to understand, because I've been doing some research. I've been trying to narrow down the possibilities, because there were plenty of games for the Mac SE that fit this description, which is also kind of general and vague. But so I can eliminate Dungeon of Doom.
Kind of mind blowing, actually.
Dungeon of Doom was a bit more of a chessboard to it. It was less of a platformer. So that takes out
Dun-
Dungeon
what
of
was
Doom
it?
and Dungeon Revealed.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't those.
We know it's not those two. Now Dark Castle.
Oh,
Let's
Dark
see here.
Castle.
I want to pull this one back up.
That, my friend, I think you nailed it. Dark Castle.
I think that might be, if you take a look and see, because that's got platformer elements to it.
That's it.
Because there was Dark Castle and Beyond Dark Castle, so I'm guessing it was one of those two. Because like the Wizardry series was in there, but that was text based.
No, it was Dark Castle. It was the one that had the screenshot with the black castle in the background. It's got the.
We did it, Ray. I'm done. I'm out.
You found it.
I'm out. Mission
You did it.
accomplished.
That was your first shot at it too.
It was the first on the list, but I at least was able to narrow it down. I wanted to answer this live. I wanted to get this solved live. I'm good. I'm done. I'm good. I'm out.
You've done your job. I remember there were these little rat characters.
Oh,
And
that's definitely it then. Yeah.
Yeah, there were these little rats, and they would run around on the floor, and they'd try and bite you. But yeah, and there were these chains you could swing on, and it was I believe there was definitely like a puzzler type thing to it. It wasn't just like a parkour platformer type stuff.
Yeah, there were like Castlevania vibes to it too, with like how they did. Like you could clearly see they took some of the design elements just from Castlevania.
Yeah, but it was all black and white, and it was really fun for a Macintosh game where there wasn't a lot of options. It was a good option, and it was fun.
But you said it was just like, hey, we have a computer. Can we get a game for it? This is what.
Yeah, like we got this
you got.
computer. Like we got Solitaire. I got Paint. Like we got some random word processor. I'm like, is there anything fun we can put on this thing? Like, can you get an actual game for it? And this is what we found. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And it was like the only game we had for it.
I'm glad we solved this problem, because I would not have been comfortable for the next few days if we did not figure out what this game was. I would have not felt good at all. I would have lost sleep over it. I'd have been scouring the internet. I'd been going to try to thaw Steve Jobs' head and shake it out of him, depending on the time, or why find me Woz and get me an answer. But no, we're good. We're done. I'm out, Ray.
We did it.
To the future.
We did it.
You
To
did
the
it, man.
future. Let's talk about a game you are looking forward to. And I mean, this one.
This one. Oh my god.
I mean, this one just kind of falls under the same comedy as Under a Killing Moon to me. It just feels the same kind of ridiculousness to it. Squirrel with a gun, which is technically out already. You just haven't played it yet, and that's fine.
It is. It is.
I don't think it was out when we were supposed to record
It
this.
was
At least it was just
way back.
No,
Way back in the day.
Released, yeah.
It came out in August. This has been a long time coming. Tell us about Squirrel with a Gun.
I honestly don't know anything about it other than as the title suggests.
You kind of nailed it. You already got. That's it.
You did it.
I mean, what more do you need? What more do you need to know? But I was actually looking at this one today. I don't know. I didn't know much about the gameplay. I saw something on Twitter one day, and I'm like, because I'm following all these like, gaming creators, and just not just Fortnite, but even outside of Fortnite, people that deal with Unreal Engine, and I'm finding these gems out there, and these indie developers making these really cool games, and I stumbled across this one. I'm like, Squirrel with a gun? I'm like, that's so. And at first I saw it, I'm like, somebody put this in UEFN. I got to figure out how they did this, and it's not in UEFN. It's they did it in Unreal Engine, but they put it in the Epic Marketplace, and it's just like a regular game you can buy, just like anything else. But I think the clip that I saw, it was just you were literally a squirrel, and you were running around, and the gun was like he was holding a shotgun, I think, and it was bigger than him, and he's running around, and he's just and you like. Humans were the bad guys, and the squirrel was like the good guy. And I think you're running around. You're trying to collect your nuts and get through the city. And like anybody that gets in your way, it's like
you got these real Agent Smith, black suit types chasing you down.
Yeah, it's very. What was that? What was that movie? The Men in Black type vibes.
It was funny is that the title, I think, almost doesn't do the game justice. There's a lot to the game. It's all this platforming and driving vehicles. Just different weapons to use. The squirrel's got like real movement to it too.
It really
There's a lot to this game.
And he's got some pretty cool finishers. I think there's one with him. He's got a bazooka, and you see him fly in the air, and he comes down on the guy, and he puts like the bazooka on the guy's head, and then fires it. It's got some crazy like Mortal Kombat type finish him vibes to it too.
Yeah. So go ahead, guys. Go get Squirrel with a Gun. It's insane.
It looks fun. It looks like a lot of fun.
Just $20. It's right there. Go play Squirrel with a Gun.
It's like Snakes on a Plane. Either you're on board or you're not. Like you say Samuel L. Jackson in a movie called Snakes on a Plane, and there's a game called Squirrel with a Gun, and it's exactly what it is.
Oh, good. I mean, come on.
All right. Now, on to a question from the Channel 3 history books that we picked to discuss with you tonight. And we're keeping this one simple. How'd you get your gamer tag?
So my gamer tag is actually a tribute to my nephew. So let's see. God, it's probably been over 20 years now. His name was Christopher. He passed away in a snowmobiling accident. And Chrisius was kind of a tribute to him. And like the Chrisius was, I don't know if you've ever seen, I don't know if you follow like Greek mythology or that kind of thing, but I've always kind of liked Greek mythology. So the Chrisius has kind of got that vibe to it. But there was a character in Greek mythology, and I think he was the son of, or the grandfather of Perseus, and his name was, I thought, was Chrisius, and I was going to try and use a reference from the movie and from Greek mythology, and kind of do a tribute to my nephew at the same time. But it was actually a Chrisius, not Chrisius, and I just kind of left it. And the tribute's all the same, and it's a nice story, I guess.
Yeah.
But
thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the direction I thought this was going, but I appreciate it.
No, that's okay.
And final question we ask everybody: what's been your favorite feature on Channel 3?
Favorite feature. 1-ups are kind of fun. This guy, I kind of like the 1-up thing.
Oh my god! I didn't even think about it. If you didn't say 1-ups, that would have been.
Yeah,
it would have been upsetting. It would have been upsetting if you didn't.
Say 1-ups has got to be, and the little animation that you add when you hit the 1-ups now is. I feel like you did that for me, Joel, and I appreciate it. But I mean, just the community itself, it is just a real gem, to be honest. I mean, everybody. You go on other social platforms, and there's a lot of riffraff. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of just toxic individuals, toxic behavior, and you don't really see any of that over here. It's just a bunch of people that like to play video games, and they're all pretty cool. And that in itself is a pretty cool feature.
There will come a day where we can't curb stomp the negativity away, but until then.
Well, you guys are doing a crackerjack job, let me tell you.
There it is. That's actually the line that we ended on.
There you go.
And with that, we've made it to the end of another 183 podcast. Thank you, Chris, for being with us. You can find the podcast at c3.gg/podcast, dropping every Wednesday morning at 3:33 a.m. Eastern on all the major platforms, including Spotify, YouTube Music, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Ray. Dan puts this all together. Our theme song is by Castor Garden, and for our executive producer, Joel Willis. Have a good day, everybody.
Channel 3 is the future.